What's up, guys? Welcome back to Grind Lifestyle. I'm Nick. That's Brian. That's Jesse. And today we've got Johnny Davis from Bend, Oregon. He's an artist, a venue owner, entrepreneur. Dude's impressive. So let's just dive right in and talk about what he does and where he's been and all that good stuff.
Let's do this. For starters, man, I like the hat.
Thanks.
Yeah, isn't that that's the business, right?
Yeah, that's my venue, and obviously it's a ripoff of
STP
oil company, and then Stone Temple Pilots did a hat like this as well. So it's been repurposed a few times, and I got the name trademarked, but logo is a big no-go. So oil companies have deep pockets with big lawyers, I guess.
Yeah, of course. And tell everybody the name of your venue.
Yeah, my venue is called Volcanic Theater Pub. It's in Bend, Oregon. It's been around for 12, going on 13 years. It's won the best indoor concert venue in Bend, Oregon for 12 years. And yeah, we do a ton of concerts. I mean, 250 concerts a year through the venue. It's a lot.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks, man.
250 a year?
Yep.
You know, there's only like 365 days in a year, right?
Yeah.
So you're not having a concert 1/3 of the year.
Yeah,
that is insane.
Basically, it's usually around 20 days a month we have something going on in the venue.
Wow, that's awesome. And a little small town of Bend, Oregon.
Yeah,
wow.
It's still I would say a small town. We're a little over 100,000 people now, but I think the reason we can do the volume of concerts is because our tourism is super, super high. I mean, we have 500,000 people a month in the summer coming to Central Oregon, so it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, pretty close to Sisters and all that good shit too, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a skiing town or what?
Yeah, ski and snowboard. I would just say outdoor community, outdoor town. There's mountain biking and skiing and lakes and rivers and fly fishing, and it's a little bit of everything for an outdoor enthusiast.
Oh wow, very cool.
It's very cool. One of my favorite talents in Oregon for sure. You guys have got, like we were talking about, craft beer. You guys have got some of the best craft beer out there.
Oh yeah,
the best food I've ever had. Oh my gosh,
the food is surprisingly really good.
Yeah,
amazing.
There's a reason why Chino from Deftones moved there, I guess.
Yeah.
I've never played there. I was on a trip. My band, actually, one of my bands, a couple of bands ago, was on our way out there, and we were divided up in different rigs, and they hit black ice.
Oh no!
Spun, and the trailer got hit by a car coming the other direction because the trailer went into the lane and just flipped my guys. And next thing you know, we're on the side of the road, in the snow at night and gathering all our exploded gear everywhere, and we never made it.
So, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah. That's the only treacherous thing, especially in the winter. And we tell artists all the time, no matter which direction you come in, you have to go over a pass, and it's just treacherous. It's like you're either going over Hood or Santiam, or you're going down through Diamond Lake, or you're coming east, through Milliken. But it doesn't matter which way you come in, you're going up in elevation, and it can get real dicey real quick.
Yeah, no, crazy.
Hopefully everyone was okay.
yeah, everyone was fine. We ended up borrowing gear for the rest of the tour from the bands that we were playing with, but and then got home, just finished the last like 5 or 6 shows, and we were at the Crystal Ballroom to follow that and stuff, and the band that we were playing with was loaning us gear.
Oh, that's good.
I gotta ask you, man, so tell us about, that's the venue, because I wanted people to know what, or we want the people to know.
Yeah.
But this podcast is called Grind Lifestyle for a reason. And sounds like you wear a bunch of different hats, and I've seen and heard some of your singles that have been dropped, or at least one of them, and then is there a new one? You have one out now?
Yeah, I got one out, and one that we just finished all the pre-production on, and final tracking. So I shared that with Nick, and that's going to be like my summer summer single. So we're planning on releasing that one in May. I got a little behind schedule. My plan was to be releasing a song every 2 or 3 months, and then my wife and I bought a house and we moved in and all that, so we got kind of sidetracked where I didn't have as much time to get to the studio. But
yeah, you said we, so I mean it's Johnny Davis, solo, but
yeah.
So go ahead and throw out some love, because this is the team here, like a Grind Lifestyle. It takes all of us to make this happen. So
yes, I say throw the we in there. It's me and my a friend of mine who's also my producer. His name is Justin Abel. He's up in Portland. He's an awesome recording engineer and producer. And for the most part, what we have been doing is I start writing a song, I get the bones and the structure and everything together, send it to him. We bounce ideas back and forth off each other, and then he comes down to my studio here in Bend, which is a little vacation for him and his family. And it's just him and I in the studio just working on stuff. So it's like this last song, I'm playing guitar, playing the organ, doing the bass. He's doing lead guitar stuff. We're jumping on the drums and just like really just, hammering everything out, the two of us. But we work well together. And then with us both being recording engineers, it makes it pretty advantageous for like working on stuff, because it's like if he goes out to track something, I can sit and man everything, and then if I'm recording something, then he can sit in the studio, and then both of us are like setting up mics and picking preamps and running cables and everything like that. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been super fun. And then the band that I have, the guys that I have are all guys that I grew up with here in Central Oregon, and we've all been playing music together since we were in high school. So when I called everybody, up for the shows that I have coming up, I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like all your parts, everything's already written, but I would love for you guys to come play. And I've literally been playing with these guys for 20 years. So it's been pretty fun to just be, working on new music and a new project. But I really enjoy the writing process with Justin, where it's really just us working on, crafting the song and really like ironing out everything. Sometimes too many chefs in the kitchen, it doesn't work as well. And I feel like we're, the two of us are really getting a great product, on these songs, as far as like, we're hitting all the marks on these songs that I want, as far as like, the production, the vibe, the energy, the just jumping on multiple instruments and stuff like that. It's just like, it's been really fun. So
that's amazing. So what's your first single called for everybody out there?
The first single is called Broken Town.
Okay.
And I wrote this song about growing up in Central Oregon. When I was growing up here, I've been here for 33 years. It was a very small town at that time. There's only 30,000 people. So it's a homage to growing up here. And then the next single that we're releasing is called Don't Come Around. And that's kind of I don't want to say it's cliche, but it's a breakup song. It's a song about your ex.
Right.
Hey, I mean, Taylor Swift can do it.
Yeah, we all have that one. Maybe I shouldn't say we all. Most people have the one ex, that keeps trying to creep back in year after year, even though you're like, we're done, this is over. So I wrote that song about an ex.
There you go. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Is Johnny is he an artist as well?
Yeah.
Like, so he has his own stuff too?
Oh, Justin, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So I don't think he has been playing in any bands or doing anything lately, but he grew up playing in bands and his church as well, and a bunch of other stuff. But I think currently he is only producing and recording out of Portland. I think that's full-time gig for him now. He has a wife and kid and whatnot. So
amazing. I just love, making sure that everybody around you is getting the love.
Oh yeah.
As well, that it's lifting you up, kind of thing. Because like I'm sitting here dominating this right now, but I got the mayor, on here, and I got the marketing guru to do this with as well, Nick.
Yeah.
And making everything, click and fall in place. And in fact, I want to thank you because you've jumped in and filled in for me on the show before.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and it's good to meet you.
Yeah, you
Well,
too. It's great to be on here again, and I appreciate you guys snagging me for a second one, and it was great to fill in on the last one. I've actually been chatting quite a bit back and forth about possibly doing some studio stuff. So
very, very cool.
Yeah.
Did you have fun hosting last week?
Yeah.
Good.
I thought it was a good time.
Good. Nick, you're awfully quiet over there, buddy.
Yeah, sorry. Like I said, lack of sleep. Having doing this this whole new life thing with a newborn is crazy.
He is fostering a newborn baby.
Yeah, a lot of rules to follow apparently. So
Yeah.
Anyway, Johnny, tell us about like your old projects. I remember about the first time that I through Trevor Hanks was like one of the first times that I found out about you, and then we met later in life when you're doing shows and stuff. So
yes, I mean, I've been playing music since I've been playing music and putting on concerts since I was in high school. Started playing music, I think I was probably around 12 years old. And then by 14, I was, plugged in with my little local high school band. That's where I met Trevor Hanks, which is, a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
And all of our bands, we basically just played like, Bend and Roseburg and Grants Pass and, Eugene and Portland, and we'd all kind of just rotate around. There's a pretty good Oregon, local music scene back then. At least in my opinion, there was a lot of bands doing a lot of stuff and just touring the Pacific Northwest and playing, and it was super exciting. And I continued to do that all the way up until I was 18. And then at 18, I'd been putting on concerts and playing and touring through the Northwest with the little bands that I had. And then at 18, I tried my best at being like a booking agent and a manager. I picked up a handful of artists that are still touring today, artists like Chelsea Grin. And I had all these little bands, mostly in like, metal and hardcore and punk genres, and pop punk and whatnot. And then they all started getting bigger than I was ready for, bigger than I could handle. And they all, branched out to bigger agencies, bigger managers, bigger stuff. And after that, I was a little butthurt, I won't lie. I felt like I had put in a lot of work and I had really helped develop, these acts, and, to see them all get, cherry picked essentially from bigger companies was kind of a slap in the face. So then I decided to go back to, the other side of the van per se. And I started another band with a friend of mine from high school called Capture the Flag. It was just like a pop punk, pop rock outfit. And we toured and did that for, I believe, 4 years, 2 albums. And it was kind of one of those things that was a little bittersweet. Like once we finally were getting to a spot where like, we're talking to Victory Records, we're talking to Rise Records, all these people had interest. The band was kind of imploding at the same time. We had been basically touring for 6 months a year. We all lived in a warehouse together, and which was a terrible idea. And it's like everybody was just kind of at their wits' end as far as like, we'd spent all this time on the road, we spent all this money, we've done all this stuff, we have interest, but like, people are starting to I guess build resentment or just, frustration towards, the band or towards other members or whatnot. So that kind of all imploded. I felt like right when we were at the cusp of things, which was, a pretty big bummer. And, so then I jumped, from that because pretty much everybody was like, yeah, I'm done. So I jumped from that to a friend's band, up in Portland called Fall Star. They're like kind of like a melodic hard rock, hardcore, maybe even I could say screamo act. And they were on Face Down Records, and I toured with them for I think 2 years, 2 or 3 years, through 2 albums, I believe. We got to do a ton of awesome stuff. We got to go play in Germany. We got to tour all over the U.S. We got to play a bunch of big festivals. And it was a ton of fun. And then we got done with all that and got back, and the lead singer was like, yeah, I'm going to try to get out of this record deal, and my wife and I are going to have kids, and, the bass player's getting married, and this person's getting married and having kids. And I was like, oh, okay. So, like, you guys aren't touring full time anymore. So I came back down to Bend, and I think I was 24, 25 at that time, and I decided to start doing concerts again full time, because I was like, well, I don't really know what else to do. I've tried, this will be my third band and touring cycle, and, the third one to either fall apart or, throw in the towel. And I was like, I guess I'll just put on concerts. So then started putting on concerts full time, and that's all I've been doing, for the last 10 years, 11 years. So,
Wow.
yeah, quite a cycle of stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of music and the venue management,
Yeah.
how do you occupy your time?
I mean, if I can.
You only have what, 5 days a month, 6 days a month where you're not, but what is
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have a ton of time outside of work and business stuff, but when I do get little breaks, I like to go snowboarding. Snowboarding.
To do it.
Yeah, I used to ride a ton, but it's a lot harder to ride all the time when you have a ton of responsibility and a family and, wife and kid and whatnot. So it's like I still get to go snowboard. If I can get 2 or 3 times a month, I'm pretty stoked on that. And then I spend a ton of time with my family, and have a 2.5-year-old daughter. So we have a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to this next year where I can hopefully take her up to the mountain and start getting her comfortable with snowboarding. Fingers crossed she enjoys it and she's not just like, this sucks and it's cold. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's, as far as like me and my personal time, I feel kind of lucky that, I have this studio space that I built out and that I get to work, in music, because it's really what I love doing. I mean, I'm in my studio, that doubles as my office every day. And I'm always working on music, which is what I love to do. So for me, it might be a job, but I definitely do love doing it. So yeah, I'd say that's kind of the mix of stuff. In the summer, going out to the lakes and the rivers and just hanging out with friends and family and whatnot. It's always a good time. We can get out on a boat or something like that. That's always fun too.
Nice.
Yeah.
The same stuff that everybody does.
I would hope so. I don't do anything too crazy, or it's I don't go like, I don't go skydiving or bungee jumping or have some crazy and
So you don't have a death wish.
Yeah, I mean, I ride a motorcycle, I ride dirt bikes, stuff like that, but I feel like that's just normal stuff that everybody does.
So I gotta ask, is the goal here to, do an album, or is it just putting out singles and just fulfilling this stream, this feeling that you have, like, hey,
Yeah.
I gotta do a song, like, I got this vibe, let's go, let's knock this
Yeah.
out, and you get a hold of Justin and just start working on more tunes? Is that
Yeah,
the
I mean,
plan?
I think it kind of started as like, let's throw out a couple singles and see what happens. And, then that kind of turned into, I was like, well, shit, now I have, 7 or 8 songs ready to go. And I'm chopping at the pre-production on all of them. And I'm like, well, now I have an album. So I'm like, I guess I should put out a couple singles and then, release an album. And, I was watching an interview. I forget when you brought that question up, I forget the producer, he's also an artist, but he's super big, playing amphitheaters and whatnot. But he was talking about how, you can release all the singles you want and it can really generate a ton of buzz and a ton of hype. And you can have like a career that kind of starts, taking off. But he was saying like the album is really what defines an artist's career. It's like, it's always like that album from an artist where you're like, that album was like, whatever, it changed my life. It's amazing. I know every song front to back or whatever. And I was thinking about that a lot since I saw that interview, and just, I was like, he's right. Like, you can do all the singles, you can, go viral on TikTok, you can have all this stuff, but if you don't follow it up with an album, that is a lot of great songs on an album, and put your whole creative process out there in one piece, I do think it is very kind of short term. So I kind of changed my perspective. I first started talking to Nick, I was like, I'm just going to release a single like every 2 months and I'm just going to do that. And then now I'm like, well, maybe I should just put out a couple more singles and then plan for a fall release of an album and just have those singles on there, of course. But it's like, then it's like there's more, it's not just a handful of singles. I do think the singles thing was popular and working probably for people for the last couple of years, but I feel like it's shifting back where people want the whole piece of art.
It's I love that you say that, because for me as a kid, it was all about records, CDs, all that, and this body of work. You may not love every song on the album, but it is a body of work, and once you're playing them all, you get to know all the bits of music and their headspace in that time, and I think that's important. And
it is.
I've started thinking about what do I want? I have the title of the album now. I have I'm working out the artwork in my head. What do I want? Because I'm gonna press vinyl. I want an album. I want something that's a piece of art on my wall, along with, this collection of records that I have behind me that I'm collecting. And that's coming back too, which is really cool. Everywhere I go,
thing is like
making
a huge
absolutely.
So it's like,
like
when Johnny and I first started talking, obviously, yes, the single thing was big. Matt Ferrani does the single thing. That's a big thing. But again, going back to dropping a full record, do it. It's definitely making a comeback. So there's with this whole management being an artist thing, there's like so much pivoting all the time of, what's hot right now, what's everybody else doing, how are people promoting their music, how are we doing shows, and it's cool to hear that you're ready to drop a full album. So that's actually kind of exciting. So
like I was saying, it's like at the beginning of the process, I only had the one single, Broken Town, and I was like, I really love this song. I think it's a great song, and I felt like Justin and I did a great job on the song. And then I was like, well, I have all these other songs, and I start going through like, I usually do like voice memos or like something like that when I'm working on a song. And I started going through stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I have this song, and I have this song, and I forgot I started this thing. And so it's kind of been fun to just like, usually it's like, I just have these like little 30 or 45-second voice memos of like me starting something, and just getting the idea out. But it's been nice to take those and finish them, like taking a 30-second or even a 15-second chorus that I was humming, and then now I already have a full song written for it. And it's been fun, and then taking some old stuff, that song I shared with you, Nick, Going Down. I wrote that song years and years ago, but it's like me and Justin took it and like completely reworked it, and like now I'm like, oh, now it's a great song. It was okay, and now I'm like really proud of it. So but yeah, I'm excited. I agree with what you're saying, Brian. It's like people want that full body of work. They want to hear, when they become a fan of an artist, they want, that. And I think it's definitely turning back in some degree to where people want the vinyl, they want the full album, they want the full body of work. And, for me, that's how I grew up. There's dozens of artists, where I'm like, I know every song front to back on that entire album, so I think it's, for me, it's exciting. It's exciting to see that it's kind of shifting back that way. I think, even on the recording and the production side, like I felt like stuff for a little while was getting really, really overproduced, where it was like everything was just like huge sounding and tons of samples and all this stuff. And like now I feel like it's kind of going, back again, where people want to hear like the more raw stuff. And you're seeing that a lot, it's like with a lot of artists, I feel like, you're seeing, like having like somebody like Zach Bryan, where it's just him, a guitar, and, somebody, playing a cajon or something in the background, it's like, it's just this raw take of stuff, it's not all auto-tuned and big overproduced. So it's nice to hear all that, and see all that, kind of shifting.
Right. No, and it's like I said, you got to put a close the book, or at least that chapter, and then that way you can, where am I at now, and start working on new music. Because if that's who you are, and it sounds like that's who you are, with never giving up on music, it just keeps finding you, it keeps coming back no matter what's happening. No matter how you pivot, there you are. You're in your studio, or you're surrounded by it, or you're putting people on stage and helping them fulfill what they need to do. It's music is your life. So these are chapters you have to write about. And you go, this one's complete, this one's done, okay, and it's a body of work. Let's move forward. But I know we're on a time crunch here, so if there's anything, like when it comes to yourself, is there a moment? I was thinking about this, because as I was saying that, is there a moment like an artist came through and played your venue, or that inspired you? One night you're like, oh, I got to get back to the stage, or I got to get back to doing my thing. There's only, I don't know, a third of the year you're not putting on shows, and there's artists coming up there spilling out their guts and their soul on your stage. Is there a moment that stands out to you? You're like, I got to get back.
I don't know if there's necessarily a specific moment, but I think I kind of felt it building. Like I would watch some of the, the bigger shows that we have, or the sold out shows, and the crowd in the audience like chanting or singing lyrics back, and you get sitting there and you get goosebumps, and you're like, this is why I do this. Like these moments of watching, a crowd singing lyrics back to an artist, as hard and passionately as they're singing it to the crowd. And I think I kind of realized, that I was like, it kept building and building, and like I started to realize like I need to be doing my creative thing as well. Like I support all these people doing their creative thing. I support all this, all this stuff within the music business on, a pretty large level. And it kind of put me back in my seat a little bit of like, why am I not also contributing on that side, and it was almost immediately when I started working on my own music again, like and maybe it sounds cheesy, but it's like I could feel the lift, of like, this feels right, this feels good, this feels like I'm back in like the mental space where like being creative and working on music feels good, and it's driving me to want to share my art and share my creative side with people. And I think the other thing that was probably a bit liberating in a way was like, I've always just been like the guy that like joins a band or is in a band. I'm a guitar player, I'll jump in, I'll do background vocals, I'll help write songs or whatever like that. But I was never the one that was like, I'm gonna be, take the lead and be in the front. And I think that was kind of like a revitalizing energy of being like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take the lead. I'm going to write the songs. I'm going to do all this stuff. And I'm not doing it for, anyone else or for a whole band or anything. It's just for me, it's like, I'm just getting this stuff out for me, and it feels really good.
That's amazing. Well, you just took control of the reins, which means that it in your stories that you've been telling, most people, they were done, they cashed out, they were, the band was imploding, whatever, you were trying to do a team thing, and now you're in control. But if you succeed, you succeed. When you succeed in things, they're yours. When you fall short, they're also yours.
Yeah.
But you're in control of it now. So you want to put in the work, and you get the rewards of it all. And it sounds like you were a team player for a long time, and I'm in the same boat. I am a team player. I come from team sports. So, Coach Mayer over here, baseball coach, football coach, he understands, and he's an ex-athlete as well. I love coming up with a team, being on a part of something bigger than myself. But at the moment, but at the moment, I'm having to step out, and I'm going by Brian Hopkins and not whatever band I'm in. Even being the front man of that band, I'm having to keep everybody's spirits up. And now it's like, okay, this is my choices. I put in the work, and this is what I'm doing now. And so, and I agree. I mean, it feels good, right, Jess? When you're part of something, it's really incredible. And that's like this grind lifestyle. There's a team of us that do this together, and we're all stepping in. Scott's not on here, but Scott's out putting in the work.
He is.
So it is a good thing. It's all really good. But appreciate your time, man. Nick, Jesse, is there anything else we want to get at before
just tell us where to find you, Johnny.
Spotify, social medias, everything across the board. It's just Johnny Sidney Davis, Sidney with an I. And reach out if you like the music. Reach out if you don't like the music. I'm a pretty personable person, and I love chatting and with people, or even if it's not music related at all, business stuff too. It's I'd love to help and give insight to anybody on anything. Anything I can share to help anybody else is always always something I enjoy doing. So
I always, there's room for everybody.
For the upcoming tour, you can just hit the socials, and we got links to all the tickets for those shows. So
you can find all the links to John's socials in the description of the video below. Anything else, guys? We ready to wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Nice to chat with everyone.
That is John Davis. That is Brian Hopkins. That is Nick Martin. I am Jesse Dugas. Until next time, we are Grind Lifestyle. Peace.